Hi, my name is Jerome Ortega. I've been with Hard Lens Media for about 2 years now, and I'll be honest, I'm still learning a lot about politics. I have questions, and who better than my team to help me out answer them? This is Understanding Politics with Jerome Ortega. Okay, now that we've talked about endorsements, the one thing that I want to tie into this is the fact that, right, this last week or so, everyone's been endorsing Joe Biden. I know a little about Joe. I know he's been in politics for a long while, but I don't really know his track record. And I don't know if you guys can just give me a synopsis of who he is and what he's stood for, but if he's even really worth endorsing, or is this, again, an establishment move, which I've heard you guys talk about, but I really, do you guys have the facts on what he stood for and the kind of person he is?
So I'm gonna tackle the endorsement angle of that, and then Kid will probably do a great job with his background, because he has quite a history of really terrible choices. So he is the exact definition in this case of an endorsement process. You have all the people that have dropped out behind him going, I'm going to go vote for Joe. And a lot of the times with runner-ups or candidates that drop out, these are the people that become the Secretary of Treasury. These are the people that secretaries get into very, very powerful position. Now, what's the trade? The trade is my supporters that are still loyal to me are maybe it's 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people. But if I endorse you, half of them, 2/3 of them, all of them will go in your direction. So effectively, by making that, Biden is gaining votes, gaining backing, gaining reputation. Right. Because remember, from most people's eyes, they don't fully understand that this is a transaction that's happening. Many people just go, oh, the person I liked endorsed that person. Well, I'm going to go vote for that. But the effect from the inside looking out is I'm going to give you my voters, and I'm going to get a position of power as a result. It's just key structure. It's just a big key getting little keys aligned so that overall they're an even bigger key
that makes sense.
Than they were before. But to go to Biden's past.
Okay, so Daniel did a great job with the endorsements. This is explaining about Biden. Now let's talk about Biden's history. Well, one, he is a career politician, all right? He has been on the wrong side of history. He was against LGBTQ rights, but if we rewind back the clock to the civil rights movement, he was against busing, he was against desegregation of schools. He actually went on to influence you say, well, how would you feel having your blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids with brown kids? Like, it wouldn't work. He was basically like denying it. Plus, he was against a woman's right to choose. And he was very critical of progressives and liberals. And he was a Democrat, too, at the time. He had a good working relationship with known Republicans who were true segregationists. And he was good friends with them. He wrote them letters praising them for them supporting him with some of his bills, both in the Senate and in the House. But also, let's look at some of his much more recent activities. That means going back to the 90s. And I had to pull this up while Daniel was explaining the endorsements. But 91, he attacks Anita Hill brutally. If you just watch those videos, you see a woman being humiliated by Joe Biden. Then the disastrous crime bill. The reason why we have the most incarcerated people in the world. Then we also have the 95, the counterterrorism bill, which became the Patriot Act. 95, he sought to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He sought to get rid of that. Voted against gay marriage in 1996. But, hey, he's got the endorsement of Pete Buttigieg, so it doesn't matter, right? 1999, helped repeal the Glass-Steagall Act, which is why now Wall Street and the big banks and major corporations are able to do all the stuff they can do now, and why we got into the recession. 2001, voted for the Patriot Act. 2002, voted for the war in Iraq. Wow. And then finally, was against the bankruptcy protection for students in 2005, which is why, hey, student debt is a form of unforgivable debt, so that means it follows you even after you die, and whoever co-signed on that loan will inherit your debt.
Okay, so how does he feel about a lot of this stuff today? Or is it because, we're in a different environment today?
He is painting a picture.
Yeah, and so where is that
So
now?
all of a sudden he's like, I've always been for gay marriage. I've always been for a woman's right to choose. He has no integrity. He is for, like Hillary Clinton, he is for whatever most people deem as popular. And so another thing that isn't on that list that he did was he was basically tied at the hip with the credit card industry for the longest period of time. True. And he's a guy that his entire career has been about selling out to the highest
Yeah,
bidder.
why was
And
he tied to a credit card
because
industry?
they paid him. They paid for his
Money in politics.
It's an endorsement in a
crazy.
sense.
That's crazy.
I get money from you, the credit card industry, to keep me in power, and I will pass the bills that you send me.
And
that's the transaction. That's the same transaction that all lobbyists make. Because remember, they're not doing it for their health. They're doing it because they go, this is a person that already kind of agrees with their. Here's a good example of it. When he was very young and he was talking, but he was in Congress, but he was talking about before he said, I went out with my hat out to businesses to say, give me money, get reelected. And they said, you're too young, come back in a few years. So I came back in a few years and now I'm here. It was something along those lines.
Yep.
But he was opening like, yeah, I'm happy that I sold out, because from his point of view, he's doing what needs to be done to get in office, because he's looking at politics as politics is a transaction where I benefit the most from myself, and I do whatever it takes to ensure that I have power, and I get allies, those allies being lobbyists who endorse me with their money, and I endorse them back with passing their bills.
And another thing, too, is just that the media is right now painting this picture of Biden as being the saint because everyone has Trump derangement syndrome. And so because of this, we have a situation where no one is looking at Biden's record. But when we look at Bernie Sanders, everyone's using a microscope trying to get him after every single thing he's done. But yet everything that Joe Biden has done, everything that he has endorsed, everything his support has led us to where we are at right now. In fact, because of Joe Biden supporting all these disastrous things, supporting credit cards, not only being a champion of them, but this led to how we got Trump in the first place. Biden is a neoliberal to the core. He is a corporate sellout. He works for the establishment, and the media will never acknowledge it. Now, we did a short story where CNN did a short blurb on his support of segregationist policies, but that was it, just a short blurb on it. The media will never do its job in calling out Biden's history, and it's a disservice to the American people because voters have every right to know who Biden is. But because he has this dementia, which is what it is, he has this dementia, he's rewriting history, and corporate media is helping him along the way.
And even corporate media is in and of itself endorsing him. The trade-off they're making is, we're going to help you get elected. We want access when you are elected.